Somewhere in your garden, this very week, a coneflower is quietly making a decision. It is deciding whether it blooms straight through Labor Day or fades out by mid-August and leaves a bare hole in your border. And here's the part that surprises people. That decision is not up to the plant. It is up to you. July is the most consequential month in a coneflower's entire year, and what you do over the next few weeks echoes all the way into next spring. My name is Walter Greer, and here at Golden Age Gardening, my whole philosophy fits in one sentence. Great gardens are not built on expensive products or complicated systems. They are built on one small, repeatable habit, 30 minutes a day. Any hour that suits your life, the clock does not care, as long as you show up daily. Every task I give you fits inside that window. So grab a cup of something, and if this honest kind of gardening is your style, tap subscribe so the next video finds you when your garden needs it. Task 1. Deadhead in the right place, not just at the right time. Nearly everyone knows spent blooms should come off. Far fewer know where to cut, and that one detail separates a plant that reblooms in wave after wave from one that sits there exhausted, bare stems poking up like antennas. Here is what usually happens. A bloom fades, the gardener snips just beneath the old cone and moves on. Quick, satisfying, and wrong, because that cut leaves a headless stem doing nothing. The better way costs 5 extra seconds. Follow the spent stem down to the next lateral bud, that little swelling where a leaf meets the stem, and cut just above it. You have redirected the plant's energy into a flower already waiting in the wings. But do not deadhead everything. Leave the largest, strongest cones on each mature plant, because those seed heads become a living bird feeder from October into February, with goldfinches hanging off them all winter. Task 2. Cut a few blooms for the vase and know why it helps. Here is something people never connect. Every flower you cut and carry indoors does the same job as deadheading, because the plant reads that removal as a signal to make more. So the bouquet on your table is not stealing from your garden, it is feeding it. Cut in the cool morning when stems are full of water, choose blooms that just opened, and cut down at a leaf joint. You get a vase that lasts a week, and the plant answers with a fresh flush of buds. Beauty indoors, more blooms outdoors, from a single snip. Task 3. Let the soil, not the calendar, decide when you water. You have heard coneflowers called drought tolerant. True and misleading at once, because it only applies to established plants, in the ground at least a full year. Treat a brand new one like a hardened veteran in July heat and you will watch it crisp up while its older neighbors sail along. So before watering a mature plant, run one test. Push a screwdriver or your finger 6 to 8 inches down. Cool and moist, walk away no matter how parched the surface looks. Bone dry, water deeply and slowly, then leave it until that deep layer dries again. Deep and infrequent beats, shallow and constant every time, because light sprinkles train roots to loiter near the surface where heat punishes them. A first-season plant is different. Its roots are still trapped in that block of nursery soil, which can dry out in 48 hours, so it may need water every 2 to 3 days. Containers are thirstier still, and soggy roots kill a coneflower faster than drought ever will. And one rule for every plant: water at the soil, never over the top, because wet leaves plus warm humid nights is the exact recipe for the fungal trouble coming up. Task 4. Support the tall ones before the storm does it for you. Here is a heartbreak I want you to skip. A coneflower stands gorgeous all June, then one July thunderstorm rolls through, and by morning half the stems are flattened, snapped at the base, blooms in the mud. Tall, heavy-headed varieties are most at risk, especially after rain loads every flower with weight. The fix takes 2 minutes, and it has to happen before the storm, not after. Slip a few grow-through supports or a ring of stakes and twine around the clumps now, while the stems are upright, and grow into them naturally. Wait until the plants are down, and all you can do is tie up broken stems that never stand right again. Prevention is a 2-minute job. The cure does not exist. Task 5. Inspect every strange flower the moment you notice it. This is the most important task in the video. Everything else affects how well your coneflowers perform this season. This one decides whether your planting survives into next season at all. The threat is aster yellows, caused by a phytoplasma, a bacteria-like organism carried plant to plant by insects called aster leafhoppers. They feed on infected weeds, then hop into your garden and inject the pathogen straight into your coneflowers. And here is the hard truth. No cure exists. No spray, no drench, nothing reverses it. Here is what to watch for. A coneflower that should be purple or pink pushes out flowers that are green. The cone may be flattened or distorted, sprouting bizarre little secondary blooms in a broom-like cluster. Look wider and you see yellowed curling leaves, stunted growth, weak stems. The whole plant looks wrong. And here is the costly mistake. A gardener snips off the deformed flower and leaves the plant standing. Friends, that bloom is only the symptom. The infection is already everywhere inside, and every day it stays. Leafhoppers land on it and ferry the disease to healthy plants nearby. When you see those symptoms, the entire plant comes out that same day. Dig it, take as much root as you can, bag it, and trash it. Never compost. The silver lining, the phytoplasma does not linger in your soil, so you can replant that spot with confidence. Task 6. Learn to tell aster yellows from rosette mites, because they fool people constantly. Let me save some of you from ripping out a plant you could have saved. Rosette mites are microscopic creatures that feed inside developing buds, and their calling card is odd, tufted, bristly green growth erupting from the top of the cone. Sounds exactly like aster yellows, doesn't it? The whole diagnosis comes down to one question. Is the damage confined to the flower, or is the whole plant involved? With rosette mites, the weirdness stays at the cone, the surrounding leaves keep their healthy green, and the stems stay full length. With aster yellows, the whole plant joins in. Yellowed leaves, shortened stems, that stunted look top to bottom. So, the response splits. Suspect rosette mites? Snip the affected heads, bag and trash them, and the plant stays. Suspect aster yellows? The whole plant comes out. And when you honestly cannot tell, do not guess. Every state runs a university extension service with a diagnostic lab, and clear photos get you a confirmed answer, worth it when one diagnosis costs a flower and the other costs the whole plant. Task 7. Break the leafhopper cycle by clearing the ground around your plants. Now that you know aster yellows rides in on leafhoppers, here is the defensive move almost nobody makes. Those leafhoppers breed and shelter in tall weeds and unkempt grass, especially where your border meets the lawn or fence line. A bed ringed by weeds is rolling out a welcome mat for the very insect that spreads the incurable disease. So on your daily walk, pull the weeds creeping in around the crowns and keep that edge clean. You are not just tidying for looks, you are removing the launch pad. Fewer weeds means fewer leafhoppers, and fewer leafhoppers means less aster yellows. Task 8. Start beetle patrol the day the first one lands. Across most of the eastern United States, adult Japanese beetles emerge in late June and feed hard through August. They adore coneflowers, and worse, they feed socially. A feeding beetle releases a scent that shouts dinner is served, so one beetle becomes 10 in short order. That is why early action beats late by a mile. Knocking down 5 beetles the first week of July is far easier than battling 200 in August. The best control I know costs nothing. Carry a container of soapy water, hold it beneath each bloom, and tap the beetles in, ideally early morning when they are cool and sluggish and their instinct is to drop straight down. 2 warnings. Never hang pheromone traps near your coneflowers, because research shows they pull in more beetles from the whole neighborhood than they catch. And never spray broad-spectrum insecticide on open blooms, where bees and butterflies are working all day, no matter what the label promises. Task 9. Manage disease with airflow, not spray bottles. Coneflowers crowded together with poor circulation get powdery mildew, leaf spot, and crown rot at far higher rates than well-spaced plants in the same weather. The 3 drivers, warmth, wet leaves, and stagnant air, are all things you manage culturally, and cultural fixes outlast any spray. Powdery mildew shows as a pale, gray-white dusty coating on the leaves. Pull the worst leaves, stop overhead watering, and open the airflow by thinning what crowds the plant. For the rest, mix a teaspoon of ordinary 3% hydrogen peroxide into a cup of water and mist it on in the morning, and it kills spores on contact with no residue. Crown rot is different. Sudden wilting despite moist soil, with soft, dark tissue at the base of the stems. The instinct is to water more. Resist it, because too much moisture is almost always the cause. Improve drainage, cut away the rotted tissue, and drench the root zone with that same peroxide solution. And keep mulch pulled back from the crown, because mulch piled against the stems builds the exact warm, humid pocket crown rot loves. Task 10. Know the 3 July mistakes to cut from your routine. This last one is about restraint. Mistake 1. Dividing in July. Coneflowers do need dividing every 3 or 4 years, but the right windows are spring or fall once the heat breaks. Dividing in peak heat hits the plant with root shock at the moment it holds the fewest reserves to recover, so flag the crowded clumps now and divide in September. Mistake 2. Cutting the plant to the ground. Every green leaf in July is a little solar panel building the reserves that fund this season's flowers and next spring's vigor. So remove only dead leaves, damaged leaves, and finished flower stalks. Mistake 3. Fertilizing a struggling plant. A weak, pale coneflower is not automatically hungry. It may be drought-stressed, overcrowded, beetle-chewed, or an early disease, and high nitrogen on any of those gives you soft, leggy growth that flops while the real problem rolls on. Diagnose first, treat second. That's your whole July in one breath. Deadhead smart, water deep, stake the tall ones, and pull any aster yellows plant the same day. 30 minutes a day is all it takes, and your coneflowers are already telling you what they need. If this helped, subscribe, drop your zone in the comments, and go take your walk. Your coneflowers are waiting.